It's called a lance. Hello?
Welcome, everybody, to Episode 1 of It's Called a Dragonlance, Season 2, Dragons of Winter Night. I'm your host, Elliston, because even though William SRD did all the work making this podcast recap and everything, Elliston gets all of the credit, like he always does.
Oh, Elliston, you're so dreamy.
I know, aren't I? It's fantastic. Joining me today is my co-host, Auntie Hauntie.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome.
Once again, I hope you've, if you watched episode 0, where we covered the intro and stuff to this book, you know that Austin co-host is away that episode and this one. He will return next week,
He will.
presumably. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With
So
a
it'll
sack
be
of
just
gold.
us today. Like, exactly, with a sack of gold. He's time skipping, just like in Dragonlance.
Yes. He might even bring us a hammer.
That would actually be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
That makes Dragonlances. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, that. Jesus.
Jesus. What I would do with a hammer that makes Dragonlances. Let me
I
tell
mean,
you.
Dragonlances.
I'd probably make Dragonlances. So, we don't have too much to preamble. How you been?
Yeah.
What you been up to?
I've been pretty good. As far as what I've been up to, just sweltering in the summer heat. And I've started streaming lately, as you know, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Not a very exciting time in my life, but a fulfilling.
I mean,
one.
streaming is fun. You seem like you've been having
it's
fun.
so
I've
much
been
fun.
enjoying your streams.
It was so much. It's been. I actually am having to like hold myself back from just going live randomly because I have to remind myself, like, I don't have an idea for this stream. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't burn out.
Yeah.
Because it's really enjoyable.
It
it's been really
really is like that was what surprised me the most when I started streaming is it is so much fun. It's such an adrenaline rush and getting to like bounce off a chat. Just a weird amount of fun. It probably wouldn't be as much fun if you're streaming to 0 viewers, but when you have an actual chat of a couple people talking to you, God, it's fun.
It's really good, and it's been really, really helpful having you and other friends popping in for that exact reason. I would, anyone who wants to be streaming, I'm like, don't just go alone to 0 people. Get your friends. Contact some friends. Be like, hey, come hang out with me. You know.
I mean, you can do like a 1 or 2 test stream if you want, just as a tech test before you invite your friends in. But like, you should bring your friends in.
Yeah, even for tech tests, I feel, just so that you can like get a stronger opinion of, you know.
Yeah, and you can get
how's
someone
the
to
audio,
be like,
how's this?
yeah,
work,
the
know?
audio specifically. I start every stream with harassing chat to tell me if my audio's good.
Right? Somehow I feel like the audio settings change every single time. Somehow, magically, a gnome
In
gets
my
in the
case,
computer
they
system.
do.
Yeah. He's right.
And what's new with me? I got a cat.
Yeah. You got a
cat.
beautiful cat.
She's so
Beautiful,
pretty.
adorable cat.
She's got those like bright blue eyes and the gray fur. She I got a millennial gray cat.
Oh, she's a little stunning little creature.
I will post pictures on Blue Sky. Her name is Azura.
Yes. Azura, that's right. I was going to say Ashura, but
Ashura, that would have been good too. I was
no, I love Azura.
I was just thinking like I've been in my like once every 2-year period where I have to like really fight myself to not get back into World of Warcraft because my life will disappear.
Right.
And I was just thinking the other day, like, Azura's a really great name for the cat, but I also would have really liked Azshara from World of Warcraft for that cat.
Ooh, yeah.
That would have worked as well.
Mm-hmm. Azura's a good name, though.
It is. It
Azura's
suits
a very
her.
good name. Yep. I
It's
give it
classy,
6 months until
it's
you're
geeky.
I give you 6 months until you're calling her something like Azzy, though. If you're like me and my friends. Cats always end up with
almost
funky
certainly.
little nicknames.
Yep. I remember with my old cat that I had in university, I named her after one of the characters from BioShock Infinite. I named her after Rosalind Lutece. And it was like, oh,
Nice.
this is such a geeky name. And then, like, within 3 weeks, she was just Rosie. Suddenly, it was a normie name again.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, well, let's get into this book, I think. Lore recap. Oh, and if you want to see pictures of my cat, I will post them on Blue Sky.
Yes.
Now,
Yes, you
lore
must.
recap.
And in your Discord server.
Oh,
Maybe?
yeah, I can do that too. Yeah, I'll put it in the Discord as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Lore.
Lore.
We enter the second book with Elliston brandishing a relic hammer that once forged the Dragonlances. The heroes manage to recover it between books and gift it to the dwarves in exchange for sheltering the 800 refugees. The crowd goes wild and looks with admiration upon Elliston, because that man is always given for free what others worked hard for.
Oh, man.
The refugees are grateful for the dwarves, but they have no interest in remaining below ground for the rest of their days. Elliston begins formulating a plan for Tannis to lead an expedition oversea to the city of Tarsus, so the refugees may settle there. Tannis and Laurana bicker about her growing affections for Elliston, who has since also become the beloved leader of the refugees just to piss off William. Laurana has grown up quite a lot between the books, the violent journey to Thorbarden having shocked the youth out of her. It is now Tannis who seems frustratingly immature as he fights against his feelings for the elf. A mysterious dragon and Highlord perch above Tarsus. They scheme to capture the city and take Elliston and the heroes of the Lance in one swoop. It seems personal. The heroes soon discover that Elliston's plan has a tragic flaw. No one has heard from Tarsus since the Cataclysm, and it seems that the sea surrounding the famous port city has completely dried up. It has also developed a major xenophobia problem, especially towards the Solamnic Knights who failed to stop the Cataclysm. The town quickly identifies Sturm as the heroes settle in at the Red Dragon Inn. Assorted arguments are had there, by Sturm and Raistlin, by Tannis and Laurana. It is interrupted by the city guards arriving to arrest the cast. Tannis, Sturm, Flint, Gilthanas, and Tasselhoff wait in the lobby to go with the guards for interrogation, while the others hide in their rooms. The guards say, "No, we're taking everyone, actually," but Raistlin stops them with magic. A mob forms to throw things at the arrested heroes, and Tass riles them up and slips away. Sturm stands up for another prisoner, a lady who turns out to be Alhana Starbreeze, an elven princess of great renown. The heroes are thrown into prison with her, but are soon busted out by Tasselhoff, who has now befriended a trio of incognito Solamnic Knights. He has assisted them in translating an ancient book and learning of an orb that controls dragons. The dragon attack on Tarsus begins.
Yeah. Sounds
That's
about right.
what happened. Yeah.
That is exactly what happened.
Okay. Episode done.
Yeah. See you later. Have a good one, everybody. You can find us at... No.
Chapter 1, White-Winged Ships. It feels weird rewinding to Chapter 1 after we were finished the other book.
I know.
But here we are at the beginning again.
Yeah. The lovely picture of the hammer of Karis. It's a pretty good-looking hammer, actually.
It looks surprisingly unused. That front part of the mallet looks like it's never hit anything before.
Right,
It is
it's so
shiny
finely
and polished.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that. I like the handle the most personally. Also, the little drill spike on the back end.
Oh yeah, you gotta have.
Yeah, It's more like a weapon than a tool, actually. A little bit more like a warhammer than a proper, like, blacksmith's hammer.
It reads very ceremonial to me, like it was never meant to actually be used.
Right. I suppose a weapon that you would hope would never have to be used,
I mean, yeah. It reminds me in a way. It doesn't look like it, but it's got... It feels ornamented in a similar way. Did you know, Auntie Hauntie, that Canada has a ceremonial mace? The ceremonial mace of Canada. If you Google it, it's like the same, like, this is an impractical mace. This is what this hammer reminds me of.
Word. Yeah, I can see that. That seems to make sense. And that probably was its role for quite a long time in the hands of the dwarves, right? Just a real nice hammer.
Yep.
Upon which they hung all of their ability to organize politically.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what happens in the actual chapter here in more depth? Speaking to the political leaders of the Council of Seekers.
Yes.
I find it surprising that they kept Hederick around.
Right? Yeah.
As a member of the council. The dude who... this was a minor character for the readers. Hederick, if you don't remember, he was the guy who, like, rejected the gods at the beginning and got thrown in the fireplace, and then he, sold out Solus to Highlord Verminard, and then tried to, like, stop everyone from escaping the prison. This dude just consistently has done everything bad and wrong. And very publicly too, and for some reason they still keep him on the Council of the Seekers.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen character stats for Hederick, but I mean, I feel like if he were neutral, that would be like that would be a charitable.
That would be generous.
Yeah, exactly. I do think he's probably in the lawful evil camp, but
that sounds right.
Or at least real close to it. But but I guess, we're now seeing, of course, especially in this chapter, that the High Seekers are, because obviously they were never truly a religious body, right? They never had actual, real working gods, real gods who answered their prayers and stuff. They were, strictly speaking, a political body. And I suppose to get authority on that political body, that probably meant that they had a certain amount of, resources and influence and authority individually that allowed them to get there. So it makes some sense maybe that this organization wouldn't necessarily fall apart the very moment something happened. And maybe Hederick doesn't get kicked out, because I think in the last book they kind of pointed out how the High Seekers themselves were kind of taken by surprise when they too were enslaved. Right, so he might not be the only one among them who is a bit spicy. So they may not be willing to throw him, out into the cold when that could potentially raise questions about why they aren't being thrown out into the cold, especially now that their city-state is destroyed.
That would make sense. I'm a little anti-Seeker. This feels like a very ineffectual organization. It was definitely an organization that I believe they said in the first book they were founded to seek the gods, and then they just kind of abruptly decided that they had founded that they had found the gods, even though they hadn't.
Yeah, they made some up.
Yeah, they made up some gods. Went, yep, we found them. They're non-interventionalists. They don't do anything, these gods, but we found them.
Yes. But, the people also, I wonder, maybe I'm being uncharitable, but the people who had been living under them in their city-state, who are now these 800 refugees, they were very willing to go along with it for a very long time. So, they might be the kind of people who, when faced with the situation, do not think we need a new way to organize ourselves, and instead just kind of continue to go along with the status quo because it's comfortable or easy or straightforward, and they have other things on their mind.
And it is.
They're just very lucky that Elliston is there.
it is interesting that they're traveling in this caravan, and like there are clearly clerics with magic powers traveling with them, Goldmoon and Elliston.
Yes.
And it's like, obviously these two are empowered by the gods. And
Correct.
yet, you know, by the sounds of it, only like maybe 60% of the refugees have accepted that these new gods exist. There's still quite a few refugees who are not sold on it somehow.
Yeah, it's peculiar. I mean, I suppose it's easy to for them to take that position in some ways, because it's not that they believe Paladine doesn't exist. They just don't believe that he would have ever come back to them. Right?
Yeah.
So I suppose that's maybe where the distrust comes from, is perhaps if we had to give them an internal monologue, it might be something like, you know, Paladine and Mishakal would never come back to us. That's absurd. Yeah. If this is anything, it must be some other presence that is perhaps taking their name or something like that at best. Or maybe it's one of our old fake gods, you know.
You know who shares our opinion, though, in that next page, is Raistlin. Raistlin's real frustrated with these guys, saying,
he is.
Hey, you absolute fools, constellations have disappeared from the sky. What do you think is happening? And Hederic is just kind of like, yeah, we know, so what?
Yeah, exactly. It's nature, man, just doing its thing.
Yeah, I actually does that.
I like this part of the chapter a lot, because this was what I was referencing in episode 0 when I said I wanted to come back to something in the little Hammer of Karis prologue section, just as a little touchstone, because we see here, you know, Raistlin has been portrayed, and it's very easy to assume that he is very self-interested, right? Self-motivated, self-guided, self-directed, self-interested, totally self-centered person, doesn't actually care about the people around him. Yeah. But he is trying very hard, and and apparently, according to this section, has been trying very hard to save these people from themselves.
Yes.
Right? To ensure that they stay someplace that is, at a minimum, more secure than the place they want to go, and to get them to acknowledge the reality of these gods who have the potential through faith in them to help, right?
Yeah. Well, and we know that
this is very out of character for him.
I don't think so, actually.
No?
Because you remember we hear in his backstory at the beginning when they're talking about their childhood, we hear that one of the biggest things that Raistlin was concerned with was exposing charlatans to protect people from getting exploited by them. And is that not what he's currently doing right here? Is he's trying to protect the people from these lies, really. And he's trying to physically protect them as well as an extension of that. I think when it comes especially to religion, I think Raistlin does actually want what's best for people. He wants people to understand the truth. He doesn't want people to be harmed by lies or being led astray. So I see him being frustrated but helping with the refugees anyways as being in character for him. And in fact, it's probably better than what he's received in the past, because in the past it was referred to, there was no real evidence of the gods. So when Raistlin would tell people, these guys are lying, there's no actual seekers, there's no gods, whatever, people would just form an angry mob and turn against him. Whereas now it's just 60% of them believe him, and then 40% are just being stubborn oafs. This is probably this is one of the best groups he's ever traveled with.
True. Yeah, I think, you're right that it's definitely in character for him at his core. I just think that the books kind of go out of their way to intentionally, and I think to good literary purpose, to portray him as one way on the surface, to get the reader to think and make assumptions about him as a character, while actually saying something entirely different about who he really is deep down inside, right? Because you're right, he's trying to save them from not only from the Seekers who are wrong about stuff, but just from self-delusion, their own delusions in general, or what he would perceive as delusions. He does the same thing in the Hammer of Karis section when he offers Sturm the illusion of the Dragonlance. And he says, will you ride it into glory, remembering that for Huma with glory came death? Like, that's him in that moment again, and he's done this multiple times with Sturm, again trying to save Sturm from like his own like brash actions that would likely put him in a situation where he would die.
Yeah.
He obviously, I think, and I think we'll see a lot of that in these first 6 chapters, cares a lot more about the people around him than he is willing to admit. And also, I would say, and maybe we'll see this, or maybe I'll be proven right, or maybe I'll be proven wrong. I don't think he admits to himself how much he actually cares about people, because to do so would be a liability. But I do like that we're seeing him trying so hard now, where he's actually like driven to the point of shouting at these people, right? This is like really one of the first moments where Raistlin his facade like starts to crack and cause him like, that crack is causing him frustration and angst. Yeah. And we'll see that a few more times in these chapters. I think actually we see a lot of characterization for Raistlin in these chapters that goes much deeper than the previous book did.
It's true.
He's a good
and
dude,
Raistlin,
even if he's not a good dude.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
And Raistlin doesn't like the current plan, which is, of course, find ships and make their way to Tarsus so that the refugees can settle somewhere safe. He says, nowhere's safe. The war is coming no matter where you go. What do you think of the plan they've got to go to Tarsus? Obviously, we know where they're going. We know how it turns out. But on the surface, how's this plan?
I think that the plan is, is foolish. For reasons that I think will get brought up in later chapters. But even when I was first reading this chapter, I had completely forgotten all the details of Tarsus and was kind of confused it in my mind with a different city that we eventually see in Dragonlance. But I was wondering to myself when they're like, oh, we haven't seen Tarsus in 300 years. No one's been in contact with the city. No one knows anything about it.
And then they decide to head there.
Yeah, because the dwarves won't let us through the mountains. And I'm like, but they've got these big, beautiful ships. The best ships in all of Kryn. And I'm like, okay. So if they've got these seafaring vessels, right? Why are they incommunicado with the rest of the world? Like if they had these big ships, okay, so they can't go through the mountains, but boats don't care about mountains, right? They say they would just go down along the southern coast of Kryn or the northern coast of Kryn or whatever coast is most convenient and establish trade that way. And the fact that they haven't is, a concern that should be discussed.
I think
and
so.
Yet
I think
no one is discussing it.
I think Tarsus was a bad place for them to try and head. On the other hand, I do think that the plan of finding a permanent place to drop the refugees so that the main cast of heroes can get to work with saving the world, generally a good plan. Hard to save the world when you're dragging around 800 people who are fighting you every step of the way.
It's true.
Tarsus was really a long shot. It is good that they didn't actually bring the refugees with them. The heroes went. But
I agree. To get permission, right? That's at least pragmatic. But
get permission and also check what's there.
Yes. But overall, I think it's pretty foolhardy, and I think I would be, if I had been there, if I had been one of the heroes of the Lance, I think I would have been siding with Raistlin in that whole conversation for sure, and maybe suggesting a different option. I mean, these are people of the land, right? Like they could theoretically they could settle anywhere.
Yeah. Let me open up this world map here of Kryn. I've stopped relying on the book maps.
Yes.
Where would I settle if I was in Thorbarden? Well, Verminard is described as already gone, and he was the main problem here. Maybe you just go back to Solace. If it's safe now.
Right.
But there's a lot of, I'm not sure I would even head for a pre-existing town. They're all so far or small, I would probably just find a new place to settle or go back to Solace. Even back to Qualinesti, the elves, like they did successfully help the elves, so the elves hosted them before.
It's true. And just being farmers doesn't mean they're just farmers, right? They don't just grow vegetables and crops and orchards or whatever. They have a whole skill set as like a medieval-esque people. Like they can build buildings, like they can build barns, they can build shelters. Pretty successful. These are handy people.
Did we ever find out what happened to Haven? Did it get sacked as well?
Haven? I can't remember. They
tried like 3 times to go to Haven, that last book, and they never made it. And to my knowledge, they never make it to Haven in the entire trilogy.
Well, Haven, wasn't Haven the city of the refugees? Like that's where the High Seekers were, right? Their council.
You're right. Yeah.
So that was.
They're not
it's
just
probably
Solace
been
refugees. Yeah.
Yeah. If it's not sacked, it's occupied, right?
Yeah.
So that seems an unlikely spot to go, but there are probably a lot of other options that would occur to them first. I mean, even going to be like, hey, maybe the Knights of Solamnia will take us in, or maybe this or that, There's always Nightlund, too. If they want to, they could go to Nightlund and ask for... We know we've not been introduced to Nightlund yet, but no, they should.
No, just go all the way to Solamnia. It'll be fine.
Yes, that'll be better, I guess Tarsus with this tunnel is probably the most direct option. But
I guess it is worth. Okay, I mean, looking at the map, if they're not going to go back to where they came, Tarsus is the obvious first place to check.
Yeah, definitely. So, but still, it seems suspicious.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to why it turned out to be a bad idea, which was not for any of the reasons we just said.
Right.
But for now, we have an argument now between Tannis and Laurana.
Yeah, a very real argument.
A very real one, a very frustrating one too.
Yeah. It's basically just it's a lover's quarrel, right? I mean, they're not quite lovers yet, but it is, I think evidence of the fact that in their hearts they are. Tannis is feeling a lot of jealousy, and Laurana is, although she's grown a lot, I think she's still struggling with her own sort of interior sense of self, if only because a lot of that interior sense of self is still attached to Tannis, right? Her idea of being with Tannis.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because even the maturing and growth she's done was for his sake, right?
Yeah, she did it for his sake, and now she's kind of... I mean, I will say, to Elliston's credit, although, like, it's clearly, like, an almost inappropriately close friendship, but it's not actually romantic, and it's clearly not romantic, but it is just enough to really get under Tannis's skin.
Yeah, we do see Elliston acknowledge the feelings that exist. Like, he's very aware that they're into each other. He just doesn't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And that maybe creates problems, because I do feel if Elliston and Tannis had a bro moment, just for Elliston to be like, hey man, look. I think you and Laurana are meant to be, bro. Like, I'm not trying to, like, get in the way.
Yeah,
like,
instead
Tannis
he's doing this
down.
fucking, Laurana, come to bed. Like, fucking...
Right? Please help me read tonight.
A little tact, buddy.
Right? Like, exactly. He's kind of... I think the reality is that he's kind of treating Laurana like a daughter, right?
Yeah.
Rather than a lover. But to Tannis, that's going to look like interest. And Tannis is like, he's a man, you know?
Yeah.
but Laurana's not being very great in this argument either, actually. She's kind of choosing the worse of two options when given the opportunity as well, because she's frustrated with Tannis for her own reasons. And like she talks, it mentions here that like she almost calls him by his elven name and then changes to Tannis. And it says that she's aware
then
of
calls
how
him
much...
Tantalus again. Like,
yeah, exactly.
A couple sentences later.
Yeah, she's aware of how much it hurts him to be called by his elven name. And then when they're arguing, she calls him by his elven name. So, which is clearly meant to tell the reader, like, she's intentionally trying to hurt him. Right?
Yeah. In
that argument. Which is normal. It's normal behavior. That's not villainy or anything. That's actually how people are, especially lovers, when they have like really arguments that get really close to their core feelings. So it's just a very like challenging conversation, I think. Yeah. But it covers a lot of ground, not just their relationship, but also like it addresses Raistlin and like concepts of hope and alignment and all these other things.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that stuff?
I mean, the one thing I want to say before we get to the other stuff that this brings up is it is a bit of a role reversal because, Laurana makes some mistakes in this argument, but she does, in this argument, come off as the one who's being a little bit more mature now. Yes, definitely. Tannis is just kind of on his shit. Yeah. And Laurana just doesn't have the patience for it anymore, like she did when she was still acting like a child. She's no longer doing the like giggle giggle haha Tannis, you're so funny. She's now got like actual opinions, and she's clearly frustrated with the fact that like Tannis, you're like what are you even like, what's even stopping us? Like why are you so like, am I human or am I an elf? Who cares? Let's just be together. Like yeah. Like when she does choose to be a little bit mean, it's in response to him being mean, and the only reason he's being mean is because he's overcome with his weird jealousy. That is not grounded in anything other than stuff he's unwilling to actually talk about in a mature way. Like it's very real. Yeah. So, and now we can get to the Raistlin stuff. Yes. The metaphors, symbology. Oh my God. This chapter is full of it. Yeah, it's really good. There are so many little like visual moments. I think this is a really dense and good chapter where a lot of ground gets covered. But yeah, I mean, we can see that Laurana is falling for the same trap as everybody else of being like Raistlin, ooh, scary bad guy. And Tannis was kind of half falling it for the first book. But now you can see he's like notably defending Raistlin here. Yes. Yeah, he says he's directly asked why he relies on Raistlin, and he says, I have long found Raistlin's advice sound. And I think he's right this time. Elliston has an interesting, though, response in terms of the writing, because like, so Elliston is Paladine's prophet. And he says, right, he's like, but you're only speculating. But then he kind of talks in a voice that, like, at least to me, doesn't entirely sound like Elliston. When he says, do not let the darkness that hangs around the young mage cloud your thinking. He may be right, but that is no reason to give up hope, to give up trying, with an exclamation point. That to me sounds a lot more like the written voice of Midnight. We may want to censor that for the audience that doesn't know that. The written voice of another character from the past. Yes. Right, if they haven't even watched the movie spoiled it all. But like it leads to a you can beep it out. Yeah, I'll bleep it. With like a funny like get a like hey mine or Roblox oof or a sound from the movie like a the mace sound. Yes, the mace sound that can be our in the head. That can be our bleep sound for the podcast. But they go on and they're having this conversation about the value of hope.
and whatnot. Laurana's very on the same page. Tannis now, though, unlike I think at the wedding, right, where he had the same conversation with Raistlin, now he's saying Raistlin says hope is the denial of reality. And he's like there for it, right? He's kind of on board. And I think this kind of gets at one of the core sort of vibes of the different alignments in Dragonlance, the good, the neutral, and the evil. Because the good gods and their followers are constantly talking about hope. Have hope in the future. Be optimistic. Look forward to a brighter time. So one would assume that the neutral gods and the forces of neutrality, who are there to make sure the good and the evil forces don't destroy each other, are probably much more pragmatic, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be deeply concerned with just pragmatic, objective realities, which is pretty on point for Raistlin and the position the position he stated, right?
And I also think that Tannis kind of entering Team Raistlin kind of funnily coincides with Tannis kind of being at his worst, amusingly, because Raistlin always has this dark cloud hanging over him. And for much of this book, from what I remember, Tannis is going to have the same. This is really where the Tannis, the Tannis angst is at its height. Is this second book?
Yes,
and he's sympathizing a lot more with Raistlin, while he himself has this dark cloud over him.
Right, because he's got all of these pressures, attached to a goal, and so does Raistlin. It's going to be a lot easier to empathize. The last thing I wanted to get into for this conversation specifically is this really wonderful metaphor, though, at the end. Or I don't know if it's a metaphor when it's the narrator, but maybe it is.
The holes in the sky, holes in himself.
Yeah. Oh, no, not the holes in the sky. No, that's a little too obvious. There's another one. Where Laurana says, she's like, what's the matter with you? It almost sounds as if you're taking that dark-souled mage's part against Elliston, one of the best and wisest I've ever met, right? And then Tannis says, don't judge Raistlin, Laurana. And then it says, Tannis said harshly, thrusting a torch into a bucket of water. The light vanished with a hiss. And this is a very interesting thing, because Raistlin is often described as hissing, right? When he is especially upset. And he's also the one who often provides light for the party throughout the last book, because his staff has that ability. And so I think
Chirac.
Yeah, exactly. And so for Tannis to be specifically just saying, don't judge Raistlin, and then extinguishing a torch in a bucket of water, and then it being described as hissing, I think that's a very important bit of very small symbolism. In the book, that people should remember, because like I've said before, there's so many symbols throughout these books that I didn't even notice the first time I read them. And now that I'm rereading them again, I'm like, oh shoot, this is here, and this is here, and this is here, and this is here. It's like a whole constellation of images that foreshadow and sort of tell the story. It's so good. It's just really good. And clever. I really don't want people to miss actually how artful Margaret Wise is with her writing.
She's really quite impressive with this.
Yeah.
Okay, so not to avoid beating a dead horse, what else we got in this chapter?
Let's see. Well, they talk about the walls, the way the Thorbarden opens and closes, which is another symbol in the, later on, or at the end of the book, actually, or at the end of the chapter, sorry. They also mention Kitiara.
Oh, yes.
Tannis has after his argument, he naturally thinks about his ex-girlfriend. And so we get a little description of her, cropped curly black hair, crooked smile, fiery and tempestuous, her strong sensual body. The body of a trained swordswoman. Oh my goodness. But we also see that as he thinks about her, his thoughts keep returning to Laurana, right?
Yeah, it seems mentally in his head, the spell is getting broken a little bit by Kitiara.
Yeah.
Yep. I think I get the sense that Laurana might have been a bit right about Tannis in that I think Tannis really wanted to be human. And I think he spent a long time trying to be. And I think Kitiara helped him feel human. But I don't know that there was any actual love there.
Right. If not love, then, love in the way, maybe. I don't know, actually. I think that Kitiara is a person. Well, we'll get into Kitiara eventually.
We'll get into it when Kitiara
I have feelings about what
enters.
you just said, but I can't really talk about them without.
Yeah, that's fair.
Without spoiling
I'm also
Kitiara.
speaking as someone who hasn't read this book in a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm going off childhood memories. So we'll reassess that
I will
once.
Say,
yeah.
What I can say is I think that with a number of characters, especially the darker characters throughout this book, we will be shown, I think, that certain emotions, certain feelings, love, affection, kindness, or concern for friends, don't naturally rise above other concerns or feelings. It's up to the person to elevate them, right? To the point of priority. And not everyone is going to make that choice for various reasons. That's what I'll say about that.
Okay.
Not necessarily that there's no love, but that maybe other things take priority,
Yeah.
In a fundamental way. There was one other thing.
Right.
Is this the chapter where Laurana accuses Tannis of wanting people to, like, of saying he doesn't want to be the leader, but letting people believe that he, or something like that? What
he says, "I never claim to be perfect, Laurana." And she says, "You may never claim it, but you certainly enjoy allowing us to think it."
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the moments where I'd say Laurana's actually a little bit out of line, because
I would agree with that one.
Yeah, because we've seen his internal monologue for an entire book by now. Like, we know that he is actually very, like, conflicted about the role everybody puts on him. Like, he doesn't want to be there.
We've been inside his head, and we know this isn't how he thinks.
Yeah. So I think that, maybe there's some, where matters of the heart are concerned, perhaps, even Laurana still has some growing to do. But
I think so. Yeah,
Tannis
she's not fully developed yet.
Yeah. Tannis more, though, because he does the whole storming outside and letting the doors close behind him for the night thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to go sleep in the dirt.
Do we think that Tannis being the less mature one in the discussion, does this feel more like Laurana catching up to him in maturity, or is this Tannis regressing?
I think she's catching up. I think that they're sort of at a more equal state now, which is why he doesn't just treat her like a child. Now he sees her as a peer, which makes her more emotionally valuable to him, which is why his jealousy is suddenly starting to flare up, right? Now she is something that, she's someone that he prizes. Again, I think there's a line about it, maybe not in this chapter, but in another chapter, something about humans wanting, not taking what's given freely to them and then crying about it when it's taken away. As, something like that. So yeah, I think this is definitely, they're at the equal point now. Now they both have to grow to find each other. Yeah.
All right, I think we should get to chapter 2, because by my count, we've spent 30 minutes discussing that first chapter.
I know, this is gonna be a problem for this book, this entire book, though, dude. It's so good. I rarely write in books, but I've had to, like, every page in this book is, like, half highlighted.
Ooh, you've been annotating.
I have been annotating. It's so good.
Here we are in book 2, which, from what I remember, Sky is my favorite of the evil dragons.
Yes.
From
Sky
what I
amazing.
remember.
Yeah.
Sky rules. We get Sky here, who's, like, scoping out Tarsus. And he's chatting with the dragon Highlord who rides him, who is yet unnamed.
Yes. I would say that Sky is one of the fundamental characters of Dragonlance. And it's really explained just in these first first 2 pages, really. Because, of course, we remember Ember, right? So there's a natural comparison that could be drawn where Ember and Verminard did not like each other. They had good chemistry.
Rivals. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, and Ember was there to work against Verminard, right? He was concealing things from Verminard. Verminard had an agenda. Verminard didn't really respect Ember. Ember didn't respect Verminard. They just had good chemistry on the battlefield. That was it. And again, only as like a single unit. Whereas Sky, we get a lot of his internal monologue where, Ember was judgmental and haughty. And Sky's just like, man, it is cold. I just want to go hang out in the hot spring with the other dragons, all these blue dragons down there just like shaking off their wings. And he's just like the most important dragon in the blue dragon army. But he's the one who's trudging up into the snow to go and talk to this dragon Highlord. And it even says that, like, where's the line? It gets into a bit about their history, about how the two of them together, or the dragon Highlord alone really is the reason why the blue dragon army has like had victory after victory, never with any losses. And then he says in his own internal mind, he's like, I'm the Highlord's mount because I'm closest to the Highlord. Well, so be it. We understand each other, the Highlord and I. And then then the narrator adds to that Sky served his master out of respect and love, which is very interesting, right?
Absolutely. And it goes to what we were saying, that all of these dragons, the chromatic dragons, they can be like, they're all universally on the side of evil, but that doesn't mean that they're like personally evil in every way, you know. And this one is capable of working as a team, of loving and respecting his partner, and you know, and
dedicating himself
like,
to a cause and humbling himself even.
Yes.
You know, Ember would not have gone personally into the snow and cold while uncomfortable to go and talk to Verminard while Verminard loomed in the distance. Like, he would have sent a lesser dragon or a draconian to do it, right? But Sky went and did it himself. It's very interesting. I think he's a very cool character, actually.
And I like how I like how not only does Sky not want to be here, Sky and Sky's like talking to the Highlord about how, like, I don't want, like we shouldn't be here. There's more important stuff. The red dragons don't want us here, and they're really in charge of this little theater. We're visiting, and we shouldn't be. And they feel like, you know, they feel like the way that Sky is talking here reminds me of like when you and a buddy walk into a party and you don't feel welcome.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's a bit uncomfortable, but it's also like you've both got each other for safety, you know?
True. Yeah. What's really cool too, actually, is that when they have that conversation, it's a conversation, right? Like, they're really talking with each other, which Verminard and Ember never did. They are exchanging their perspectives and coming to an agreement. And what's interesting too is we kind of see the same behavior from the blue dragon Highlord. The blue Highlord could very easily be like Verminard would, or whatever, probably like, oh, Verminard died, what a fool, you know, what a piece of garbage in the end. But instead, you know, the Highlord is like, well, Verminard was obsessed, but people should have taken that seriously. He was a cleric of Takesis. He knew how important knowledge of the true gods could be once it spreads. He saw further into the future than anyone realized, and we should have been listening to him more. And I think the subtext there is not undermining him, right?
And it puts into perspective that Verminard, like, I mean, he was the big bad, but he was kind of just this rogue thought to be unimportant Highlord.
Yeah. He was someone who he led. I mean, I don't, unimportant and interesting. He led the Red Dragon armies, right? He was
Yes.
one of the core High Lords. But
Yeah.
yes, I think that in the end, the flaw was that, he was a cleric of Takhisis.
Yeah.
Right. So he was going to do anything that Takhisis said, and Takhisis herself, who gave Ember his instructions and everything, right, was just going to see him as useful and disposable. And but his the one thing he wouldn't be able to acknowledge, and that's how he dies, right, is that she would abandon him because his faith is so strong. He is, I believe, meant to have been, and we see that with the way this Highlord talks about him, actually an incredibly competent, and important person in the armies, but Takhisis didn't value him. And we, the readers in the first book, only see him at the end of his career, right?
Yeah.
So this is an interesting bit of moment that kind of can give us some more clarity. Like, oh, he wasn't just like a big, scary, my least favorite term in tabletop RPGs, BBEG, to be undone as soon as the heroes show up. He actually has like a history of characterization. We just didn't get to see it because it wasn't relevant to the moment.
Yeah.
What was more relevant to the moment was his fall. But
and we get it's kind of interesting that this conversation ends with the High Lord basically saying, we're going to do the same thing as Verminard. We're going to get Elliston, stop this like sign of the gods thing. And we're also going to get the heroes of the Lance, but mostly just 3 of them. And it sounds personal.
Yeah. It sounds very personal, which is pretty nifty.
If Austin was here, I'd say, Austin, who do you think this is? But Austin isn't here, and you and I both know who this is.
We both know, yeah. So all I'll say is that the last thing I think was really nifty was the way the High Lord stroked Sky's neck. That's pretty.
Oh, you like that one, eh?
I like that one. You heard how I talked about the dragons in the last book.
I remember.
I'm just like, ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right. So the next thing is Tannis and everybody. Is this the scene where they arrive and they see Tarsus? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, where they've traveled through this tunnel, which I'm guessing is just a long, dark tunnel through the mountains, and secret tunnel through the anyway. So probably uneventful, and then they get outside and they just have to literally climb a few rocks or something like that.
They kind of review and rehash the Gilthanas and Tannis relationship.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep. Where it sounds to me, we don't get in Gilthanas' head a lot, right?
We really don't.
But it does sort of seem to me, it seems to me more that a lot of it is maybe Tannis feeling insecure about his relationship with Gilthanas. Gilthanas might have feelings about him being a half-elf. I think that's guaranteed. But they did grow up as best friends. And I think that most of the tension between them is even related to him dating Laurana is probably like 70% Tannis being insecure, and that Gilthanas might care about some stuff, but not really that much.
Because the whole thing was Laurana told Gilthanas went, hey, what the fuck, and went to their dad. Yeah. And then before Tannis could even get confronted, he just left.
Yeah.
He didn't hear from the father if this was okay. He just assumed it wasn't, and he left.
Yeah. Indeed. Gilthanas definitely is an interesting character. I think he's got a lot more heart at his core than he is sort of shown to have. But it's going to take us a while to get there.
And I think a lot of it is, as we discussed before, I think one of the most interesting parts of Tannis' story is the fact that he just ages at a different rate than everyone else, and it ruins all of his relationships.
It does.
With Gilthanas, when Gilthanas and Tannis were pretty much the exact same age, but Tannis mentally was probably around 16, 17.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was already starting to be like, it's a bit weird that like Laurana's still mentally like 10 years old. We were like, we had something going for a bit there. This is weird.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Gilthanas finds out, and Gilthanas is also like mentally 12. So
Yeah.
he's still
he's
fucking
young.
like a snot-nosed brat who's just like, stay away from my sister. And,
Yeah. Well, and also,
so I think that doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all. But I think, and I think you're absolutely right. I think an additional element to the Gilthanas Tannis puzzle is that, Gilthanas is the son, right, of the Speaker of the Sun, and that means that he's got a lot of weight, the pressure of duty on him, right? And we the same kind of pressure of duty that we saw on Goldmoon, when her people were still alive. It got discussed a lot about her relationship with Riverwind and how she had to she couldn't just run off with Riverwind because she had responsibilities. Gilthanas definitely has the same kind of responsibilities and the same kind of weight and pressure on him, but for a people who are much more populous and much longer lived and have many more resources and things that could be upended, right, in a time of crisis. So I think he hasn't had a lot of opportunity beyond their childhood friendship, because it's they were kind of besties, is sort of the vibe I get, that they were really close friends. And now there's strain, and Tannis thinks, oh, it's because I'm a half-elf, and it's because I'm dating his sister. Whereas it's probably more that Gilthanas hasn't had the opportunity to develop his personal feelings a lot. He doesn't have a lot of a personality yet, right? That's really truly his own. He's not very worldly, because all he can really have the luxury of thinking about is the politics of the Qualinesti people, which would say I can't be best friends with a half-elf publicly, because elves will see that and they won't like it, and that will undermine me and my father. And I can't be okay with him dating my sister politically at a minimum, because he's a half-elf and the elves will not like that.
But I think beyond just being a half-elf, I think that's certainly the situation when they were young, but when they re-meet, and it's been 50 years.
That's quite a while, yeah.
Tannis is Tannis is he's a man, but he's a man who, I think Laurana's right. He's really trying hard to be a human. He's got a beard.
Yeah.
He's traveling with non-elves. He's, we don't get a lot about it, but I would not be surprised if, I wouldn't be surprised if his accent has changed, to be more human-esque. I think he's kind of rejected his elven side in a long way, and
Definitely.
part of I think what he's conflicted by isn't that he's struggling between his two sides. It's that he's fully rejected one of his sides, because it's just easier to grow a beard and be a human.
Yes,
so when
100%.
you're Gilthanas and Tannis shows up at a time of great danger, and he's traveling with humans, and he looks like a human, and he's choosing to be a human, well, sounds like he's made his choice, and he's not one of us, and right now I'm focused on our people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the synthesis of that, the personal side and the political side of Gilthanas. I think that's the outcome when those two sides meet. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and Tannis is, in all the art, his hair is long, too. You can't even see his ears.
Yeah.
He's just a human.
Yeah. He's a shaggy dude. Yeah.
Yep.
And also, probably a bit more worldly and many other things. But yeah, I think that's the core. I think that's the core of the relationship right there. And I don't think it'll be able to be resolved anytime soon.
No.
Because Gilthanas is an elf lord, whatever an elf lord is.
Yep.
I feel like they stop, I feel like throughout these chapters, the word elf almost never gets used, but elf lord. And I'm gets used all the time. And I'm like, is this a thing? Is this a thing in Dragonlance?
It's an elf lord.
Yeah, just an elf lord. Is this a word that everybody recognizes? Oh, look at that elf lord over there. What? What is the difference between an elf lord and an elf?
Must be a class.
Right? Or maybe slang for the Qualinesti. I don't even know.
All right. What else we got in here? So they see
more
the
Tannis
city.
and Laurana. Yep.
Oh no, they don't see the city yet.
No, that's chapter 3.
They're mostly just walking and talking in this scene. We get another
climbing.
We get a lot of like
yeah.
We get a bunch of small little moments. More stuff with Flint's helmet. Tika is struggling to be close to Caramon because Raceland's always there.
Well, it's not even because Caramon specifically asked her to look after Raceland.
Yes,
and neither of them are happy about it. I actually think it's kind of cuts to the heart of Raceland a little bit. Actually, it's like every time Tika tries to help Raceland, he pulls away and snarls at her. Right? It's because I think he knows that she's like. He's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you letting Caramon make you do this? Like, you don't want to help me. You don't like me very much, which makes me not like you. Like, stop. This is just embarrassing for both of us, right? Because it would be humiliating to be helped by someone who doesn't want to be helped. Who
clearly hates you. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just some moments. Then we get Tasselhoff skipping through the snow with that like 16 dexterity or whatever he has, and getting on everybody's nerves.
Tannis wonders why everyone follows him. They check the maps again, and we are on chapter 3.
Yeah, there we go. Tarsus the Beautiful.
Tarsus the Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, so
it's a bit underwhelming.
This.
Not the
it
chapter,
is a bit
but
underwhelming.
Tarsus.
Yeah. So they crest the hill, look upon Tarsus, legendary seaport city. What do you see? There's ships, but there's no water.
Yeah, there's a really nice metaphor here. I'm going to just be pulling these out for the whole book, but when they have to climb the rocks, right? And Raceland volunteers to go with Tannis, and Tannis is a bit surprised because he's like, well, it's not going to be easy for you to climb. It's not going to be easy for a healthy person to climb. But Raceland's like, no, I'm going to do it. I want to see this city, which to me is like such a dig, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like Raceland is like prepared to be unsurprised by the bullshit that they're about to witness. He just wants to be there when they finally have to see it, like after traveling so far. But also, there's such an interesting moment where Tannis says, you'll show up on the face of that mountain like a blood stain. Cover yourself with a white robe. And they both have kind of a sarcastic smile about it. Which, of course, for a mage, a white robe would be very much like, oh, haha, good. But I think it's also kind of, again, it's another one of these very quiet metaphors that Wise puts in where, like, the idea that, like, true goodness for Raceland can only ever be a disguise, right?
Right.
Like, it's kind of telling the audience, like, hey, look, this character is complex and has a lot of good qualities to him and so on, but he's never going to be, he can't be capital G good.
Yeah.
It's not in him to do it. Yeah. I think that's a very, again, one of these little tiny little glimmers of metaphor that Wise uses.
I agree.
Are so good. So good.
They're real good.
Yes. Even the bit about the red looking like a blood stain, right? Like, obviously that's a
of course
some symbolism as well. But
some robes, red robes.
A really nice conversation between Caramon and Raceland, actually, as well, about Tarsus once they see that the city is like falling apart and Caramon doesn't catch on right away. Raceland's like, what do you see, brother? And Caramon's like, oh, well, this. And he's like, no, and this. And he's like, no. He's like, do you notice anything about the boats? And he's like, oh my God, there's no water in the ocean. And Raceland's like, yeah.
Caramon moment.
Big Caramon moment. We learn a bit more about the
Tass is just like, well, how was I supposed to know that 300-year-old maps were out of date?
But there's a very like tender moment between Raceland and Caramon, actually, or maybe not tender, but brotherly, where again I think we see some of Raceland's facade cracking a little bit. Where Caramon says he's that they should be cautious because he's felt eyes watching them. And Raceland touches him, like puts his hand on his brother's arm, which is like very rare. And he's like, and even the narrator says, like, for a moment they looked alike, right? And Raistlin calls him wise. He's like, you're wise to trust your feelings, brother. Like, my brother. Like, even calls him my brother.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't, there's no sarcasm there. And he's like, there is danger following us. And I tried to warn the people about it, which again points to Raistlin was trying to save them. And then Caramon asks him, like, how did you know? And he's like, I just know, dude. Like, I paid for the knowledge in the towers. I paid for it with my body, my reason. I paid for it with, and then he stops. And of course, has it been revealed what he paid yet? Was that revealed in the first book? I can't remember.
No, it wasn't. No? We still don't know.
Okay. Well, it's an important thing. Whatever it was, he's measuring it up against himself, the thing that he presumably cares the most about. Clearly communicating that it is a thing of great value to him.
Yeah.
Caramon gets anxious about it, but he's like, I don't understand. Then Raistlin's like, and you never will.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't intend to let him understand.
and Raistlin seems sad about it. Raistlin definitely, like, there is a genuine bond between these two characters, but it feels irreparable. And it's really well done in that way.
And I think part of that is probably Raistlin's trauma of growing up, right? Because Raistlin, I think he said it before, or if not, he said it in other things, and it's not a spoiler, but is that he is a bit resentful of Caramon's strength because of his frailty. And I think that there's actually, I think it goes a bit deeper than that. It's not that I think he wishes Caramon wasn't around because Caramon is strong. I think there's moments where he wishes that Caramon was as intelligent as he is, and that he was as strong as Caramon was, so that they could truly be twins, right? That they could truly be equals and have the kind of relationship that would facilitate. But that's not the world they live in. That's not the fate that was given to them. And that's where a lot of that tension comes from. And difficult.
It's tragic in a way.
It is very tragic, you know. He wants his brother to be a peer on the axis that he values, but he also wants to be a peer to his brother rather than a burden. Like, it's a very complicated relationship, and again, really a good dynamic for a story like this.
Oh, it's so good. These two are like, I mean, they're the heart, of course, of the second trilogy, but they provide a lot of the heart in this first trilogy too.
They sure do. They sure do.
And then we get some backstory on the city of Tarsus. This isn't from anyone's POV, is it? It's just kind of going on about the cataclysm, what the city used to be, big thriving trade port. And then, you know, the Dragon Wars even of the Huma era didn't affect it too much, so it just prospered like mad.
Yes, it was kind of like the way it's described, it kind of sounds like sort of like the Krynnish equivalent of like a Silk Road city, right? Like in Alexandria. Someplace where all of the cultures of Ansalon come together and trade. Really a beautiful place. It talks about wizards in the bazaar and how they were distrusted even then, and clerics in the bazaar, and Solamnic knights at the bazaar, and all of this.
Well, it's interesting because one of the pieces of world building that I find very interesting is that old Tarsus didn't have an army; it just had the Solamnic knights, the knights from a kingdom that's like a continent away. And it's really interesting to see that. It must have been such a time of peace that all cities needed was a few of these honored heroes roaming around as kind of a hereditary class of protectors, and there wasn't need for mass armies or war between cities at that time.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it was, right? Because it gets into it here where like Tarsus, like a lot of other cities, was sort of under the rule of the king priest of Ishtar, and who had done a really good job of like stamping out and eradicating evil throughout the continent. So yeah, there really wouldn't have been very much conflict. And it was that lack of conflict in many ways that leads Tarsus in the narration here to sort of to decline along with the other great cities of Ansalon, right? Like they become too comfortable. And it says even the Knights of Solamnia, right, who are like religious warriors, kind of lose all the, what does it say? Their religion became all ritual with little depth, right?
Yeah.
The loss of faith. So
I also really like how it adds a little bit more understandability to why people blame the Solamnic Knights.
Yes.
Because they're not like because book one, it's just kind of like everyone just hates the Solamnic Knights because they blame them for the cataclysm.
Yeah.
But here we see at least the people of Tarsus don't blame them for the cataclysm. They're mad that these knights who were supposed to protect them couldn't, and didn't know how. And it was their job to have prevented such a thing from happening. And they're just kind of heartbroken and resentful of these people they put their trust in who failed them.
Yeah. Which I think is misplaced.
It is
I
misplaced.
actually had this.
Yeah.
I had this thought when they described how, the cataclysm in this chapter, about how it like destroyed we learn it's not just a mountain was thrown on a city and now there's a crater. Like it changed oceans, right? It changed seas and everything else, and created new ones. Like this level of, and all in 24 hours, like all overnight, essentially. And this level of change is so, cataclysmic that like realistically, no one should have survived. It should have been a mass extinction event, right?
Oh, probably.
For the world to change that dramatically. Which tells me that at least in some capacity, like, yes, it was terrible and it reshaped the world and it changed everything. But like the gods were probably very heavily involved in ensuring that nobody really, that a lot of people like didn't die.
Yeah.
Right? That a lot of people survived
it was a punishment,
who wouldn't
but not
have.
an execution.
Exactly. And I think people lost sight of that. And of course they projected that onto the knights, where they're like, you could have talked to the gods. And it's like, what? Gang, how?
Yeah.
They're knights. They're not like,
the only point that I think they've got is, which is not the point that they were making in Tarsus, but the only thing that I think is the Solamnic Knights' fault is the fact that they just did absolutely nothing about the king priest.
Yeah, well, they also, even more importantly, they did absolutely nothing about Tarsus. Like, even after the cataclysm, it sounds to me, because it talks about how, like, when the people of Tarsus tried to rebuild their city, they were, it says, expecting any moment to see the Knights of Solamnia come marching from their great fortresses in the north, marching from Palanthus, Salanthus, Vineyard Keep, Thelgard, marching south to Tarsus to help them and protect them. And they didn't see that. And that would have felt like, for these people who probably idolized the Knights of Solamnia, again, they, like you said, they didn't have an army because they felt they didn't need one, because they felt the Knights were great. That had to have felt like a really major betrayal. Yeah. And that probably did not help. The perspective on that knightly order.
Yeah.
Of course, again, it's a lack of perspective. There was other stuff going on, but to the people of Tarsus, they didn't even necessarily know the extent, because again, they were suddenly landlocked and closed off on the mountain pass. They probably didn't have any understanding of how similarly affected the rest of the continent was, and that the knights would not be able to just march down and help them rebuild their city.
Yeah. That makes sense
their own
to me.
Their own stuff was destroyed,
Yeah. So I think that covers Tarsus mostly. So why don't we get into
basically.
chapter 4? And
Yes.
we're running real long.
We are long.
And I don't want to. So here's what I'm thinking.
How long have
we
we
wanted
been,
to have next episode be a little shorter anyway to help Austin catch back up.
Yes.
Why don't we make chapter 4 our last chapter we're covering today? And then
Sounds
next
good to me.
episode we do 5 to 8.
I think that would be perfect. Yeah.
Or 5 to 9, wasn't it?
5 to 9. Yeah. I think so.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Okay, so what happens in this chapter? They enter Tarsus.
Yes, and immediately go to the most famous inn in all of Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing history. I have a whole thing about that.
The Red Dragon Inn. It's such an iconic. It's like the iconic, like fantasy inn name too. This thing just, and because the sign is embedded in my memory.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Red Dragon Inn. Obviously, a gentle link back possibly to Tolkien's book. So I think he has a Green Dragon Inn or something. But the Red Dragon Inn is just in a little bit of gaming history. In this book is ultimately the inspiration for the Red Dragon Inn chat rooms on America Online in the 90s, which were used widely by the online role-playing community for freeform role-playing, which went on to inspire a lot of people who went into game design, both video game design and board game design, card game design, role-playing game design. A lot of anyone who was in their teens or 20s and a role player in the 90s was in the RDI chat rooms at some point. And that got carried forward into other online platforms, and eventually even some board games and card games that got published nowadays, where they're called, like, I think there's a card game called Red Dragon Inn and so on. And it all
I'm pretty sure I've played it, and it's quite good.
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of themes in I believe in it of like sort of multi-dimensionality, right? Of like lots of different fantasy elements coming together and sort of smashing against each other, which was an element from the America Online Red Dragon Inn, which was meant to be an inn that is a magical nexus of all fantasy worlds. And so anyone from any fantasy world can walk into it. And it was definitively known to have been named after this. Just because this chapter,
they don't even spend much. Is influential.
Oh yeah,
super
deeply
influential.
Yep, and it's not even in the book for very long, but it's something everyone remembers for so many reasons. I don't.
I mean, I still don't know, like everything in Tarsus, despite being like 4 chapters, is like one of the things I remember the best about this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it is. It's pretty cool.
They wander into the city. Flint is still blaming Tass over the map shenanigans, who still claims it's not his fault.
Yep. They're going to be deciding who will stay in Tarsus and who will go back to Southgate in Thorbarden. Looks like Elliston is going to go back.
What's the reason that any of them are going to stay here? Why aren't they all going back?
Well, I suppose they still consider it worthwhile to discuss if it's possible for the refugees to settle there. I mean, they haven't been given necessarily a strong sign that they shouldn't. All they've seen so far is that Tarsus is not great.
Yeah.
But it could still theoretically afford the refugees a home.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it. And Tasselhoff, of course, just wants to explore.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's probably the core of it.
Yeah. And Sturm and Raceland, of course, do the like, well, whichever side, whether you're staying or going, we're going opposite ways.
Yeah.
Because not big fans of each other, And then that obviously gets into like wherever Raceland goes, Caramon goes. That's Sturm saying that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Raceland's fine going where Sturm goes. He doesn't really.
Yep.
But he's also not going to let Sturm tell him where not to go.
Yep. Yeah, Sturm's definitely the instigator. Just all the time with Raceland.
Yeah. He, like many of the others in the party, a bit immature.
Yep.
They're still young, right?
He is. He's like, what? Late 20s now, maybe even mid 20s, like 25 to 28, something like that.
If that. I think he's even younger. I think that because like it hasn't been a lot of time between this book and the first book, and like they were only traveling for like 5 years, and I think he was supposed to have been like a very young man. I think he was like 18 or 19 when he left. On the 5-year journey to find the gods.
Yeah, I thought the 5-year journey happened when they were like, when he and Caramon were like 20. That's kind of what I remember it being, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to look it up.
They're not very specific about ages in the book itself.
Not. Yeah.
Except with Gold Moon, we explicitly have that she's 30.
Right, and Tika and so on.
Right.
But the rest of the ages, yeah. They kind of don't get into it. But I don't know if that I would characterize him as like mid to late 20s. I think I would still say early to mid 20s. Like
maybe
I
so,
would think
yeah.
maybe 25, 26 at the oldest. Possibly 24.
He's got some gray in his hair already, I believe was described. He's had some hard living.
Yeah, and he's also just kind of a stressful dude. Like
he is, yeah. He's just constantly. You know, I was thinking a little bit about Sturm for my video that I'm working on right now as we speak, and I think part of what makes Sturm so interesting is, you know, he's as obsessed with the code as any other Solamnic Knight, but the Solamnic Knights were all like raised in that culture. They had all the lessons of the code and the oath like explained to them. They learned the parables, they learned the reasoning behind the tenets. Sturm didn't get any of that. He's just I'm a Solamnic Knight and I know like I know what the oath is, but I don't know why. I don't know the wisdom behind this. Yeah. And I think it causes him a lot of stress living up to this code that he knows how to follow it, but not why to follow it.
Yeah. It makes it very two-dimensional for him, and that leads him to make a lot of very two-dimensional decisions. Yeah. Right? He doesn't lie because the code just says not to lie, whereas other knights probably have some discretion there, right?
Yeah, they get raised by people who live and breathe this oath, so like they get taught the wisdom of how and when, you know?
Yeah, the rationale, all of that. Yeah, Sturm is like an alien among his own people in many ways, trying his best to be like what he believes them to be. It's why he's so connected to the Huma myth. He's still very much in some ways like a boy in love with King Arthur, right? You know, or Lancelot, like, as opposed to someone who has actually studied chivalry.
We should keep this moving along. What happens next? They get spotted.
First, they get spotted because Tannis and Laurana have or Tannis has another argument with Laurana and so on, I think. And Tasselhoff is like, ooh, or no, it's Tannis, Sturm, and Raistlin who are arguing or something. And Tannis is like, or Tasselhoff does the like, sucks the air through his teeth. He's like, ee, and he kind of sneaks away from the awkward moment to go and have some fun in the city. And then he has some thoughts about Tannis being like, man, Tannis has been stressed lately and depressed. I wonder if I should give him this ring that I have, which was the promise ring that Laurana had like given him, and then he gave it back to her, and then she threw it on the ground, and Tasselhoff picked it up. Right. And which is a symbol that there's still hope for their relation. You know, but we know that's clear.
Yep.
Then while the arguments are going on, Tasselhoff comes running back because the dungeon master did a smart thing, and instead of letting one player sneak off to have their own adventure and scenes, immediately said, "You see some guards coming up the street. They look like they're here for you and your friends."
Yeah.
Causing the player who left to run back to the tavern and rejoin the party. Excellent artful DMing there. Take note, everybody.
Yep.
So then they have to decide, what they're going to do in response.
They divide themselves up into two groups.
Yes, and there's finally a positive moment between Raistlin and Sturm when they do, because they also give all of their weapons to Caramon to prevent, presumably, an escalation. And Sturm cracks a joke for once.
About Caterpillius, the great worm.
Who protects their weapons, yeah. And then Raistlin is actually startled by it, which is funny. He's like, what? You made a joke?
There is always the worm. Do not fear that. Yeah.
There's always the worm. And Raistlin smiled at it, too. He's like, the narrator's like, it's the only expression of gratitude the knight ever gave him, and that actually made Raistlin a little bit happy. So there's still, it seems, the barest flicker of friendship between them, which I think is accurate. I mean, Raistlin has tried many times, again, like like I said earlier, to steer Sturm away from certain death. And,
they argue a lot, and it's Sturm's fault. But like, if they like stopped arguing, I half believe they've got some decent friendship chemistry. If they could just stop arguing.
I agree. Yep. Well. And then Raceland says something ominous as well.
Yes.
The bit about farewell, my friends. As he goes, just going up the stairs, he's like, and a long farewell it will be. Some of us are not destined to meet again in this world.
Yes. And we know that Raceland isn't talking through his butt because, like, he's got the eyes that see when people die, or at least see how they age. You know, his mom's also got the gift of prophecy. So when Raceland says something like that, well, I mean, with Raceland, he may just be making it up because he does do that. But
he does.
You get the sense that's not what's happening here.
Correct. Yeah. There's something a bit more heavy. It's preparing the reader for something.
For something. Yeah, and it gives the sign that the cast is about to be split for a lot of this book.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is true. Especially Laurana and Tannis, who have their sad moment in the window as Tannis and the ones who stay downstairs get sort of carted away by the guards once the guards arrive, after Raceland scares them with the illusionary magic on the staircase.
And Tannis, even as he was arguing with Laurana earlier, had the point that, like, yes, that, like, childhood crush thing that he and Laurana had is gone now. He's not wrong about that, but there is something, like, actually real between them now, and it's very frustrating that he's already kind of broken up with her, and now he's feeling this way.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on, sorry.
That was a couple pages ago.
It was a couple pages, but it's good. Like, it's one of those growth moments too. Like, it kind of is. They're having a really human relationship, like a really, really real relationship, because this is something that people in romantic entrapments feel, right, for their partner. At some point, the honeymoon phase, right, ends. At some point, the passion and the intensity of that initial relationship, the crush, right, goes away. Yeah. And then you're left with a more real, mature potential. And some people embrace that, and they see that as a sign that their relationship has grown and is flourishing. Whereas other people, actually, they have that same experience, and because the crush is gone, they evacuate the relationship, right? Yeah. They see it as a sign that the passion has been lost. There's no more spark. The relationship is ending. Oh no. When really it's often just maturing. And Tannis has that exact, again, he's caught in the middle between that reaction of, like, our love is maturing, or is it? Is it just fading? Like, I don't know. I'm caught in the middle. I'm Tannis. Yeah.
Well, I think it's really, it's also fun in that, this is really the only book that I've seen this where, like, so much of Tannis's everything is driven by the fact that he's just, like, his maturity is at such a different, like, metabolic rate than everyone else.
Yes.
And he's like just trying to understand if he and Laurana are at the same spot now. And, like, as he's leaving, he's like, oh shit, we are.
Yeah. We are in love.
We are in love. We're at the same spot right now. This could be a thing, but I'm too late. Yeah.
She's already saying she's sorry in the window. And then after his monologue is done, he's looking back and the curtains are closed, right?
Yep.
Rough.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It is rough. And
we get a little bit more of his thoughts about Kiara too.
That basically covers what we're going to cover today. Ignore the recap from earlier, everybody. We're going to recap some of that stuff again next time.
Yeah. That was good.
Yeah.
That was,
yeah.
it was a good
What
read.
did you think of the reading?
I thought the reading was really engaging. It's funny. I think I remember less of this book than I did Autumn Twilight. Again, because this book is a bit more complex, right?
Yeah.
But that just makes it even more enjoyable. And it's just like the depth of the writing and of the emotions of the characters, and seeing the way that that Wise really brings them to life and makes them real people, not just like fantasy archetypes, is for me it's thrilling. It's very, even in their quiet moments, even in these little like soap opera arguments, I'm like, yes, I this is so good. This is what I want to be reading. It makes me want to read more. I'm really best book in the series.
I completely agree. My memories are really foggy of this book, but I remember absolutely loving it. I loved Tarsus the first time.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to rehash some of these great moments and remember what made them so special.
Yeah.
And
the only thing. No, keep going.
I was going to say it feels better written too. I remember in my research I had found that some of the reason that this book feels a little bit less janky than Autumn Twilight is, I mean, in part it's Margaret Weiss growing as a writer, because I believe this was her first fantasy novel. But some of it was also the fact that they like switched up what they were doing with the modules in relation to the books. Whereas like the first book was so heavily reliant on following the plot of the modules, whereas this one, they wrote the book first and then figured out the modules.
Yeah. I think so. I think that's pretty accurate. I still wish they'd done the Hammer of Karis.
Yeah, it would have been good.
I still wish. It's clear to me that they could have.
They could have, yeah.
They cover a lot. Wise is very good at covering a lot of adventure in only like 2 or 3 chapters. They could have done the 2 or 3 chapters, but in some ways, maybe it's better that there's a time jump. It lets this book stand on its own in many ways, rather than feeling like an immediate, But yeah.
Honestly, getting the hammer in some ways feels like busy work.
Yeah, unless there's like an epic story there that's important to like the emotional interior lives of these characters, it's probably best left to the imagination.
Yeah. All right, well, I got a pee, so let's close out this episode.
Yes.
Auntie Hauntie.
Let's do it.
Auntie Hauntie, where can they find you? Auntie Hauntie.
Auntie. Jeez. There are so many people who call me Auntie Hauntie, and I'm like, no. It's supposed to rhyme. Come on. They do it out of refusal, too. They've admitted it.
I would never do that to you.
Thank you. People can find me on YouTube at Auntie Hauntie Games, and now on Twitch at twitch.tv/Auntie Hauntie, where I am streaming at least once a week.
Check her out. She's covering
it's been a lot of fun.
The first Gabriel Knight game. It's going well.
Yes, it is going well.
Just go there and just spam in the chat. Just tell me anything at all.
Yeah, if you love old video games, I was there. I'm like an elf. I lived that history, and I'm going to be reliving it on Twitch.
Fantastic. And you can find me at youtube.com/WilliamSRD, or on Blue Sky or the Discord down below if you want to see pictures of my cat.
Ooh, yes. Beautiful cat. What a beautiful cat.
Beautiful cat. Incredible cat.